Hey guys, welcome. Today I spent a couple hours playing and testing the Star Citizen Alpha 4.9 EVO PTU. And in this video, I'm gonna give you a report of all that I have tested. But before we start, two things. Number one, we just had another Star Citizen Alpha 4.9 PTU patch drop. And according to CIG, we are probably going to hit Wave 1 PTU in a couple of hours, if everything works well. And I'm really looking forward to it. And if it does drop to Wave 1 PTU, we are going to test it together in my videos, as well as in my Twitch streaming that I have set up. Second, in this video, we're going to use some of the charts from the data mining sources. And all those numbers that we talk about in this video are subject to change. But it is always good to know the directions and aspects of those changes. Now, let's start. The first thing that I have tested is regarding personal inventory, because in the current live patch, when you double-click an item to equip on your character, it often equips the wrong thing or take off the entire armor that you have equipped. So that is a very annoying problem. And that problem seems to have been fixed in the 4.9 PTU. For the many hours that I have used the personal inventory, I always double-click the items to equip on my character, and not even once it equipped the wrong thing. So this is a good fix, right? However, there is one thing that you might not like it. Currently, in the live patch, we can equip a small, even a large backpack for most of our racing suit, as well as a tailwind fly suit. But guess what? That feature was taken away, or it wasn't really intended to be a feature to begin with for the immersion purposes, especially for this game. Wearing a heavy backpack on a racing suit or a light fly suit looks ridiculous, especially when you sit on the pilot seat when your backpack facing through the chair itself. However, it's really convenient for people who want to fly the ship with higher G resistance while still have the ability to equip two guns as well as looting stuff put in your large backpack. But that feature is gone. And my friends and I have tested that even for the regular tailwind fly suit, it's no longer the case. You cannot equip any backpack or any armor piece. It doesn't even have a storage anymore. The only fly suit that can equip a armor piece and the backpack is I think it's called Soul 3 Aviator fly suit. It's one of the items from a CitizenCon package. I think it's 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I'm not so sure. But only that fly suit can equip a light armor as well as one small backpack. My friends also tested the Mary Cup fly suit, which is from the Twitch drop from the DefenseCon. I didn't get it because I didn't watch any Twitch streams, but he has tested that even that Mary Cup fly suit has no storage anymore, and you cannot put an armor piece or leg piece on it. So all the fly suits and racing suits lose the ability to equip backpacks. The second major change is a claim mode on your free elevator. This is a new experimental feature in our current live patch, which can allow you to reclaim back anything that's related to your ship. So this only works on your own personal hangar. Once you lower your free elevator, on your top right corner on your kiosk, you can see a claim mode. In the current live, when you click claim mode, you will see an extra window pop up. On that extra window, you will see a list of ship paints, components, weapons, modules, anything related to your ship. You can claim it back to your home location. But that feature has been improved. So in the 4.9 PTU, if you click claim mode, you don't have the extra pop-up window anymore. Instead, your entire kiosk of the free elevator screen turns into a claim mode. And the items on the claim mode is showing up almost exactly the same as how they show up on your regular free elevator. Now the question is, can we reclaim our personal weapons, armors, IPS guns, utilities? The answer is no, not yet. I believe those eventually will become a reality. But as of right now, for the latest 4.9 EVO patch, I cannot claim personal weapons, personal armors, utilities, none of those. The only thing that I can use to reclaim are anything related to ships. Exactly the same as what we have for the current live. So ship weapons, modules, especially ship paints. But one major change is this. they have a price tag now. Some of them you can claim for free, but a majority of them, you have to claim them with a price. And the screen is separated for on-site or off-site items. For example, if you have a Polaris that you lost in the verse, then you can simply click off-site to see everything that's related to that Polaris, guns, weapons, components. But as soon as you reclaim the weapons, components from that abandoned Polaris, then on that Polaris, those reclaimed items will be bricked so that you cannot duplicate them this way. But you do have to pay a price for the majority of the items. So here are some of the examples. The size 5 CF repeater, the Galderin, the price tag is $649 US. I mean, AUEC, no US dollars. Chris is going to be happy, but no, it's 649 AUEC. For the M7A laser cannon, the price tag is $1,141. And for the majority of the components, the price varies from $100 to about $600. It really depends on the size and the type and the grade of the components and the class, of course. Now, whenever you hover above an item, it will show you the name of the item. It will also show you the source loadout of this item. For example, that Polaris. If you hover over one of the weapons from that Polaris, it will show you source loadout Polaris. And by the way, you can separate them by categories, exactly the same way as you choose the category on your free elevator. For example, your armor, you can click the armor piece, and then the list will show only the armor. If you click ship and you have subcategories, ship weapons, click that ship weapon, or ordnances, it will only show you the ship weapons and ordnances. Of course, you cannot ensure the ordnances right now. So ship weapons, ship components, paints. So if you choose those subcategories on your screen, it will only show you those items that you can pay your money and claim them back. So definitely more convenient than before, but still, this is a working in progress. And we're going to take a look at this in detail once the patch goes to Wave 1 PTU. The next major change is regarding some ships. For this, I have tested with my friends last night. And the data here I'm using are from the data mining sources. And again, these might not be the final numbers. Number 1, the Idris. So Idris is the only ship that the pitch, yaw, and roll has been reduced, even by 1 degrees per second. But for an already very slow maneuvering ship, that's actually a lot because the pitch and the yaw has been reduced by over 14%. The roll reduced by 8.3%. Not only that, the rotation acceleration has been reduced greatly as well. What does this mean? This means that the Idris flies more than before. Well, sorry for my language, but this is the first reaction that we all had when we were flying the Idris in the 4.9. It was insanely slow. Maybe that's what it should be. Even when you get full engine power and when you use full boost, when you try to boost up to pitch or to yaw or to roll, it's significantly slow than before. So no more dogfighting with the Idris anymore. Of course, we can't do that before, but right now it's even harder. Even when you try to rotate your ship to find a junk marker, it's gonna take a very long time to rotate. So this is not a good news for the Idris owners. However, another ship that's been buffed is the Mirai Guardian as well as the Guardian QI. The maneuverability has no change, but the rotation acceleration has been increased, especially the Guardian. But forward strafe, the acceleration has been reduced. But when you actually fly the Guardian, it feels much better than before. This is just an intuitive experience when we were flying the Guardian. By the way, they also added the lamp system for the Guardian as well as the Guardian QI. Now, the third ship I have tested is the Gladiator. This ship has been nerfed heavily, especially for its rotation and strafing. Look at all these numbers. They're all red, even though the maneuverability has no change. But because of these rotation and strafing acceleration, this ship, when I fly it, it feels like a little brick. Even though it's not as bad as when you fly an Idris, of course. But compared with before, it's a lot harder to stop the ship. And when you try to rotate or pitch up and down, or strafe especially, it feels really sluggish. You can't really use this ship as a heavy fighter, or maybe you can try. But I think what they want to do is to make this ship a bomber. So basically you fly straight in to bomb and fly straight out. If you want to protect the ship, you need agile fighters to protect it. Another change is regarding the Hornets. Personally, I haven't test fly this ship, but I have checked something more important regarding the Hornets, and that is regarding the Mark 1's bow turret as well as a nose turret. Indeed, they have unlocked those weapons. So now you can freely change the Hornet Mark 1, all the Mark 1's turrets, bow turret and nose turret, to different weapons. Because in the current live patch, those turrets has been locked. You can't change those guns. But in the 4.9, those turrets has been unlocked. So that's the ships that I have tested. And of course, we have many other ships like the Vandu, Glade, Blade. But I want to leave this to a detailed test when the PTU goes to live so that we can have a more accurate changelog data. And then I will test every single ship one by one in one of my videos. But just so you guys know that we are having some of the maneuverability change for some of the ships. Here is one of the most important change regarding all ship weapons. In the coming 4.9, for almost all the ship weapons, we have a total overhaul for the ship weapon penetration value, including the penetration distance as well as the penetration radius. And this change is significant. The most significant one are the laser cannons. So let's take a look at the Omni skis. Let's just look at the base penetration value. So Omni ski from size 1 all the way to size 5, the base penetration value has been significantly reduced. Look at the red number here, reduced between 84% to 93%. Look at the size 5 Omni ski. The base penetration in the current live is 7.5 meters. But in the 4.9, it goes down to 0.5, 0.6 meter, minus 93%. Let alone the penetration radius reduced by 92% as well. And that also includes the light strike laser cannons. So from size 1 all the way to size 5, light strike also reduced by, wow, this one reduced by 99%. Why do we even have a penetration value for these laser cannons? And the next set of data are the M8 cannons. From the size 1 M3A cannon all the way to M9A cannon, I believe this is a size 7. The penetration value has been reduced by, wow, 96, 97%. Look at the size 7 on the Idris M. The old penetration value is 10.5 meters, but right now is 0.4 meter. So I discussed this with my friends. We all think that this is a direction that CIG wants to go, is to make laser weapons only effective against shield, as well as against the surface armor. So they won't be having too much penetration value or penetration advantage. Because the laser cannons, the penetration value is just as similar to the laser repeaters. So these are the attrition repeaters. The value has also been reduced by 80 to 90%. Now, including the basic laser repeaters, their penetration value has also been reduced to almost insignificant. So that's why we say this is probably the direction that CIG wants to go. Make laser weapons only effective against shield, and then damage the armor and hull, but without damaging the components inside the ship. Not only that, look at the dead bolts that we all love to use in this patch. The penetration value has been reduced greatly as well. So, for example, the Deadbolt 5, the penetration distance was 9.9 in the current live, but it has been reduced to 1.7. It is still pretty effective. 1.7 against medium ships. You can still go into the ship and damage the components, but it's definitely a lot less effective against corvettes or capital ships. However, what's increased which is to my surprise personally, are the ballistic Gatling guns. The NV57 ballistic Gatling gun, I think this is the Gatling gun for the Nova tank. It has been increased by 127% from 3.3 meters penetration to 7.5 meters. Of course, this is not a very useful weapon, but if you look at these buzzsaw, sawbuck, and shredder, size 1, 2, and 3 ballistic repeater, their penetration value has been increased from 70 to over 100%. Even a size 3 shredder repeater, the penetration value is 1.7 meter in the 4.9, which is almost the same as a size 5 deadbolt cannon. Now, this gun is even better. This is the Super Horny Mark II. The penetration value increased from 0.88 to 2.25, increased by 156%. Now, look at this one. Raven Gatling gun, the size 4 Gatling gun for your Hornets, Avenger Titans, and some other ships. Base penetration distance increased from 2.2 to 7.2 meters. This is insane. Increased by 227%, 7.2 meters. This can penetrate into any capital ships. And now let's look at these guns right here. The Yellow Jacket size 1, Scorpion, as well as Manta size 2 and size 3. These are the regular ballistic Gatling guns. Their base penetration value has been increased as well. Right now, they're sitting at 1.4 to 1.7 meters, including the breakneck. The penetration value increased to 4.8 meters. So as you can see, for all these ballistic Gatling guns, their base penetration value has been dramatically increased. However, we do have a problem because the ballistic Gatling gun has very low alpha damage. So even you have a higher base penetration value, but as long as you cannot damage the armor of the ship, you still cannot be effective in destroying ship's components inside. So by this change, we were thinking that the direction that CIG wants to go is making the laser repeater and laser cannon only effective against shield, but higher alpha damage laser cannons, including the ballistic cannons, to be effective against ship armor, but the ballistic Gatling guns to be effective against ship components. So you do have to mix all three types of weapon together in order to be effective against the bigger ships or capital ships if you want to destroy the components to kill that ship. Not only that, here are some special weapons. So for the Leonidas cannon, for the Meteor, Maris cannon, for the Polaris, the base penetration has been reduced by half, 57%. But 4.25 meters is still pretty effective. Now, for the Medusa cannon on your Perseus, it's reduced by 40%, sitting at 17.85 meters. Still pretty good. 17 meters, it's a very good penetration value. So it's still pretty effective against capital ships. And now, here is something very interesting. The Exodus-10 laser cannon for your Idris P, reduced from 29.4 to 0.07. So this laser beam is not effective against ship components anymore. Only effective against shields, armor, and hull itself, including the Supremacy 10 laser beam for the Tibra. Same fate. However, the Destroyer Mass Driver Cannon, the Idris M railgun, the base penetration value has been increased from 50.4 meters to 66.7 meters. Now, the last set of numbers are the distortion repeaters as well as distortion cannons. Look at this. The new penetration distance is 0 now, including the penetration radius. So for all the distortion weapons, including the distortion scattergun, now sucker punch as well, 0, 0, 0. And also for the salvation, absolution, condemnation, the distortion scattergun, all the penetration value are 0, 0, 0. For this, I have tested with my friends. Long story short, the distortion weapons, as of right now, is completely ineffective against any medium to bigger ships. Against smaller ships, it's very, very difficult to disable any ship. We were testing on a heavy fighter. Unless the heavy fighter stands still, let me shoot continuously for half a minute. Otherwise, there's not even a chance you can be effective using any distortion weapon to disable it. But for this, I'm gonna do more detailed tests once the patch goes to PTU. Now, the last thing that we've tested is regarding the new super heavy armor. The things that we tested are the damage resistance regarding this armor. So when I was shooting at the armor with an FS9 at the center mass, I used 74 rounds in order to down the person who's wearing this heavy armor. But when I was shooting in the head of this heavy armor, I used 49 rounds from the FS9 to down the person that's wearing this heavy armor. Because the heavy armor's damage resistance is minus 90%. So it's going to take a lot of rounds in order to down that person. But if you have a heavy weapon, for example, the railgun or boom tube, that might be the most effective weapon. Another thing that I've tested regarding the heavy armor is the fall resistance. On a regular gravity planet, we were jumping on top of a ship, which is 40 meters above ground. I was wearing a light armor. I took 87% of health damage for that jump, but the heavy armor only took 27% of fall damage. So the super heavy armor is not only more weapon damage resistant, but also fall damage resistant. And that's all that we have tested in this 4.9 EVO patch report. Thanks for listening.